Hello everyone, welcome to episode 33 of Last Minute FPL. This is the Gameweek 33 podcast. Can't believe we've made 33 of these. Hi Vikas, how are you?
Yeah, quite unbelievable actually that we did actually keep this up, and now we're actually at the tail end of the season and here to talk about some exciting week for you, Shashank.
Yeah, I think more so in the football side after a long time. One of those games for United, which like you never really believe it's going to happen when you need 2 or 3 goals in the last few minutes. You think it's impossible. You know it's not going to happen, but then it happens anyway. So pretty memorable. Although of course it's Europa League quarterfinal, like big fall from grace. But given where we are and how the season we had, I think it was a really nice game.
But it's not just the football, even on the FPL side, you've had quite a bit of a rise this week, haven't you?
So yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. Like this bench boost was actually a failure, but we'll come to that. I mean, it's the fact that I just played the wild card. It's been a few green arrows. Yeah, let's get into it. We'll start with last week's points, and as usual, the AI team finished on top out of the three of us. 92 points. Good bench boost, I would say. Out of the 4 players benched, 2 of them returned. Basically, the Villa double clean sheet. So that's 15 points on the bench. And typically, in a double game week, when you have 4 bench foders playing, you want 16 points. So I think in a single game week, getting the bench players were single game week players, so 15 points I think is a good return, and up to 8k in the world, with the free hit in 34 and assistant manager in 3 of the weeks after that. I think it's back in a good place to finish in the top 10k.
Yeah, I mean, super strong week. I mean, not much else to say other than seeing 92 on that scoreboard there.
A bit unlucky with Eze missing a penalty. That could have been a monster haul. He would have got some 15 points, which would have been a huge boost for going for Eze, especially when everyone else went for Sar. I think the rest of the team is basically a template wildcard team. And of course, Jacob Murphy, back-to-back weeks, being the hero of wildcarders.
Yeah, he's been incredible, especially just in time when you want to get him. He also did really well with that Leicester game.
Yeah.
So overall, really happy with him.
Yeah, cool. Moving on to my team. Very similar week, 89 points. I went from 303k to 245k, so very happy with that. My bench boost here shows that I got a few points, but that's just me.
I don't. Would you have played this bench if you didn't have a bench boost?
Of course not. Of course not. It was just me making myself feel better. I think if I had played the bench seriously, like I got just the one Konza return, I would have probably had Savinho and Kivior and maybe Raya on the bench probably. But anyway, the keepers got the same points. So actually, the bench boost didn't do so well. I think Kivior and Verbruggen, I can't help it, but Savinho played again only 8 minutes, so he could be a problem going forward. Happy that Konza played. That it could have been really bad if he didn't play. At least he got the 7
I
points.
think the Villa players playing was a big surprise.
Yeah.
When we spoke last time, I did anticipate that they would rotate the most. But even Rodgers played quite a few minutes, which is so surprising. He's really a machine.
Yeah, Rodgers has started every game that he's been available for, which is incredible. So yeah, probably I would have got 9, 11, 13 points on the bench, which is not...
That sounds pretty good. It's decent.
Yeah, it's okay. It's fine. I mean, I don't think I would have done too much better next week. Let's see how that goes. But yeah, I'm happy to get it out of the way with at least one return. But yeah, otherwise, pretty much the same players doing. In fact, Sar got more than Eze in the end. I didn't even realize that. Even though Eze, scored in the first game. But yeah, pretty happy with this. Moving on to your team. Looks like you actually got more points on the bench than me.
Yeah, I mean, it's Villa. I looking back, the only change I would have probably made is play Martinez instead of Freya.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the Southampton fixture, and of course, keepers are not going to get rotated much. But given that I was benching Saliba, the logic was play Raya to have some Arsenal coverage. I Rogers was completely unexpected, so I don't think I would have changed my decision either way. Of either in terms of playing the bench boost or changing the order of the players. It's just I think it just didn't fall the right way. But having said that, there's still like another week to look forward to from a bench boost perspective, so that keeps things interesting for me.
Yeah, and I mean, you will have some double game week players on the bench as well, which is exciting. Especially, I think Martinez with 2 games can easily rack up the save points or get a clean sheet somehow. Yeah, and what do you think about holding someone like a Saka? I think Arsenal players other than Saka will probably start, but do you think that with the Champions League far away, he'll start both games in the double?
I would expect him to, given how Saka has been historically, where he just keeps. It's like how we spoke about Rogers. He just start every game that's available. Rogers starts, Saka starts. So, assuming and Arteta's been pretty positive, in the press conferences in terms of fitness. It didn't start the last game, sure, the Premier League game, but that was of course circumstantial, given that they did have a big fixture right around the corner. Now that it's just Premier League, and I think there's a 5-day gap between the fixture and the second fixture and the double game week and the Champions League. I do think, just from a match fitness perspective, he would want to get Saka minutes. So I think Saka's fine.
Yeah, I think he'll definitely start the second game, the Palace game. I'm not sure about the Ipswich one because so far he hasn't started in the Premier League still. And there's no reason. I mean, they're going to finish second no matter what. So I'm a little concerned about that. I'm someone who looking to bring Saka in. Probably will. It's just the question about captaincy, which is.
If the competing player here is Palmer, I don't think there's any doubt in terms of choosing Saka versus Palmer.
Yeah, I mean, I'll bring him in for sure. It's just the confidence. If he's benched for the Ipswich game, that'll be a bit of a bummer. So I'm considering whether I should captain Marmoush or Saka. So that's my only.
So yeah, that is the dilemma that I have as well right now. The armbands on Saka, but funnily, the Man City player seems like he would be more secure for minutes.
Yeah, I mean, at least now because Haaland is still not back. Yeah, I think that's and like even those who have triple captain left, it's a big decision to make if they're going with triple captain this week. I don't know if I'd be so confident on going for Saka. And one interesting piece of news we got this week was that Villa on their official website mentioned that if they go to the FA Cup final, their fixture will be rearranged, which means that we are probably getting a game week 36 double. And City are probably going to make it to the final as well. And if they do, they have, I think, Southampton as one of the games in that double. So you could hold off on the triple captaincy till then if
So that double game week will be City and Villa, essentially, in that double.
Yeah, and whoever they're playing. I think Villa's playing Spurs and City might be playing Southampton.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and a bunch of other City players are also in consideration now because someone like De Bruyne, he did really well in the previous game with a goal and an assist. And like it could be like a nostalgic pick because this is going to be the last few weeks that he's there in FPL, and like he's probably off to.
He's a fun pick. Unfortunately, I just blocked myself with Ruben Diaz, the exciting pick of Ruben Diaz, who's just been sitting on my bench for the most part. But yeah, I would love to get him.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be surprising to see him benched again because Foden is also training. There was some photos of him training, so if he's back, he was injured earlier, and Akanji is also back, so something to watch out for Ruben. So, but anyway, there's nothing you can do about that now. And yeah, so that's not great news for Savinho either if KDB is doing well and Foden's back. So that's also a move I'm considering. If I should just bite the bullet and do Savinho to Rogers, because I mean, if Man City have a double later, I'm looking to maybe make Pep my assistant manager that week. So if I anyway have to free up a third City spot, should I just do it now and get Rogers? Even though he has tougher fixtures, it's something I'm thinking about. But if Savinho plays with Everton and Villa, I mean those are some decent fixtures for attacking returns.
Yeah, that's a dangerous move. I feel like the losing in FPL is way worse than like winning in FPL.
Yeah, not good. Yeah, and it's also a transfer used, which can bite back later. I'll probably have to take a hit to do something because of that transfer. So yeah, it's probably not the wisest move, but it's still something I'm considering anyway. Cool. Let's take a look at the league table once. And interestingly, the top two teams are inseparable. Conte and AI team getting 92 points exactly on the bench boost, both on 2,221 points, which is crazy. Like they're more than 100 points ahead of me, even though I've made up so many points in the last few weeks. Just shows how good a season both of them are having.
Yeah, I mean, incredible. Like, this is actually a nail biting finish. It's unbelievable how close this is. And I think there is a gap opening up now. The top three are pulling away, and the gap between like fourth and third is kind of similar to you and fourth. Fourth is like up for grabs in terms of your own rank. How did you even get here?
I mean, I think it's still like 30-40 points is still, yeah, I mean, of course it's way closer than it ever was. I'm happy about that. But yeah, I mean, getting those spots is still unlikely. I'll need the same kind of form to repeat for the next few weeks, and I don't think,
I mean, with the assistant manager chip, with the gamble that it is,
yeah, it could go anywhere. But yeah, you need a lot of rolls of dice to fall your way, and I've already had many of those in a row in the last few weeks. So
but 30-40 points with like 5 weeks is 5 to 6 weeks. It's not bad at all. Honestly,
yeah,
it's not bad. It's very, very achievable with just 1 or 2 good weeks.
yeah, I mean, it's possible, but let's see how it goes. But one thing to call out though, Conte's wildcard team is very similar to the template wildcard. But the key difference is Conte has already used their free hit in Gameweek 29. Something that they forgot while making the wildcard team. So that could be an advantage for the AI team in Gameweek 34 because of the free hit that's available. So
Yeah.
that could be a big difference. So I gained one spot, but it's mainly because I'm tied on 12th. I was 13th. I'm tied 12th now. And I mean, you didn't play your bench boost this week, so you dropped a spot. But I think this week with bench boost and then free hit, you'll be looking at some gains.
On paper, sure, but bench boost is that funny chip where it just, for me, it doesn't work out as much. Because the players that I usually have, like for example, I mean, we go to our teams, but it doesn't look very appealing. It's just it's a gamble again. Not as much as the assistant manager, but
yeah,
it ends up being like a 10-12 points, similar to kind of how we saw most of the teams this week, like 10 to 15 point game.
Yeah, I think if you get 15 points, I think that's a good result. But because you have an extra fixture, maybe you could end up getting more.
Yeah, I think that the expectation of a bench boost always feels much higher, like getting like 20-30 points, but I think it's just the fact that the expectation is much greater than what it usually ends out being.
Yeah, and it has some implications in the weeks before and the weeks after. It's not a great chip because it kind of affects your team for a longer period of time, and the actual returns are usually underwhelming. But yeah, let's hope that you get a good bench out of it. And in terms of the league probability, I looked at to see who's likely to win. Both Conte and the AI team have a 39% chance of winning each, and Alan Evans has about 17%. So there's still more than 2 horses in this race. But yeah, it's increasingly looking like a 2-horse race.
Yeah, I think there's a chance for Alan Evans too, but definitely not more than a 3-horse race. It has to be something extraordinary.
Yeah,
that happened to go beyond these 3.
Makes sense. Cool. Let's take a look at some of the last week's results, and also a big shout out to Arsenal in the Champions League for getting past Real Madrid so convincingly and comfortably. Also that basically means they'll be very upbeat. I hope it reflects in this double game week where they score a bunch of goals without any pressure. But yeah, let's dive into the last week's Premier League games. I can start with Newcastle 4, Man United 1. Pretty depressing performance, honestly.
But no one even remembers that anymore. Right?
Yeah, not anymore, because it doesn't matter, right? Because and even in Europa League, honestly, they went from 2-0 up to 4-2 down. Pretty terrible defending. All of the goals were individual mistakes, and yeah, you kind of luck out. Like Mainu scored a birdie, and yeah, Bruno was Bruno. Like, he was just running non-stop, controlling things. Nearly scored a excellent volley, which would have probably eclipsed Van Persie's. Okay, maybe not eclipsed because of the occasion, but it was a great volley, and he hit the crossbar, and then he scored a very important penalty. So I mean, suddenly everyone became Casemiro became clutch. Maguire became like a monster striker, something which Fellaini tried to be, but he couldn't. But yeah, I mean, this game was terrible. But what was impressive was Newcastle. Last three games, I think Leicester they won 3-0. Then Palace, of course, they beat 5-0, right? 5-0, and then United 4-1. They're on a hot streak. Like, I thought that maybe after winning a trophy, there would be some hangover, maybe literally and figuratively, but they've been exceptional.
Agree. And here I am looking at just getting rid of their players of just the coming week, such as FPL. But yeah, I mean, Murphy at 5 million is a cheat code given how he's playing and what Newcastle are doing. Incredible.
Yeah, also, I have some special love for these players who do their best when FPL managers somehow end up getting them, because, like, what are the chances that in.
It feels so strange to me.
Yeah. He got 16 points, I think, against Leicester, and he got 19 points in the double game week. Incredible returns. And yeah, I think Isaac triple captainers might be a little unlucky because.
Still decent though, it's pretty good.
But 9 goals. They scored 9 goals, and his first goal came in the 9th goal, and he missed a lot of chances. Very, very unfortunate.
You just had to think some people had Haaland triple captain against Southampton at home with 3 XGI or something, getting 2 points.
Fair enough. Yeah, definitely not. It's probably middle of the pack in terms of luck. But yeah, I think that I think other winners are people who did assistant manager for Eddie Howe. He got double-digit returns in 3 games, which were spanned across 2 game weeks. So they got 11 points against Leicester and 23 points in this double game week. So 34 points in 2 game weeks, which is amazing. And they'll probably do Arteta with Ipswich and Palace this week. So yeah, I'm just hoping that my assistant manager in future is also like whatever you guys got in the 24 to 26 and whatever people got in.
Are you going to go for the table bonus route?
I don't know. I don't think so. There is Palace versus Forest. I know how you'll feel about that. Then there is Brighton versus yeah, actually there's no good table bonus game. I think Brighton is playing against Newcastle. I don't know if I'll be comfortable with that. Maybe I'll just go the safe route, and because City may have some good fixtures, but let's see how the fixtures turn out. For now, I'll focus on this and then the free hit.
Start factoring in the beach factor, because that will play a critical role around those weeks.
Definitely. I mean, it's something to see. Especially, I think there'll be the Europa League final, the Conference League final, like all happening during the Premier League season. So all of those things could impact. Like if United win the Europa League, I can't believe I'm saying that, but they'll be on the beach. So you could probably assistant manager someone, and if they lose, they'll be in anyway very depressed. So I think that's a good team to target. But I think any other games that stood out for you?
I mean, I personally was looking out for the Liverpool West Ham game, because there are 2 teams that I am considering as single game week options for the next week. So yeah, I mean, Bradley's definitely an option. Good to see him getting points. Yet, I mean, I still don't feel confident that he will start at right back consistently, but as long as he starts for a few weeks, I think that's fine at the price he is. Yeah, and Luis Diaz again doing well is positive. So that's a game that I had a keen eye on, just from the fact that they're interesting teams to consider for the next week.
Yeah, I think another game which was interesting was Arsenal-Brentford. I know Arsenal rotated heavily, but Wissa once again scoring, getting 9 points. Yeah, he could be a good option in the next few weeks because the fixtures are really good till the end of the season. And as a striker, another striker who did well was Joao Pedro, getting 2 penalties and scoring both of them. Once again, I mean, some people went for him on the bench boost as a Brighton player. So there was definitely, they got a good bench boost score. And City Palace was another interesting game because City just were like the old City, and De Bruyne really turned it up. There's something
Yeah.
really beautiful about the returns that he gets. It feels like they should be worth more. So artsy. And interestingly, Palace also got attacking returns in this game. But yeah, I think Mateta and Munoz especially underwhelmed this game week. At least Munoz did really well in the previous. He scored in the previous game week.
Yeah.
So, but
I
yeah,
think it affected a little bit in the sense that they did have tougher fixtures. So
yeah,
uh, it, some of these expectations are already tempered.
makes sense. And Forest once again losing to Everton this time. I think that's probably another table bonus for Moyes.
Yeah, crazy. That's absolutely crazy. Villa 3-0 Southampton. I think without them rotating the team pretty much at all, it shows that they are going aggressively to try and get Champions League.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not using Europe as a distraction at all. So that's positive in the sense of, given Villa have double game weeks coming up, just having that extra confidence and loading up on their players is something that was validated through that game.
Makes sense. Any comments on Chelsea Ipswich?
Irrelevant game. I don't think I don't think we really care about the two teams here.
Palmer got an assist finally for me. But I think he played only 45 minutes. Why did he get 4 points? Was it a yellow card?
Yeah, yes, yellow card.
Okay,
Yellow card.
cool. Okay, let's move on then. We look at next game week's projections from Rob FPL, of course. So Arsenal projected to get more than 4 goals. My concern again is I don't know if Saka will play. And City expected to get 3.75, which is kind of low for them if you consider that it's 2 fixtures. It means that on average they're scoring less than 2 goals. And then Villa expected to get almost 3. And interestingly, Liverpool is 4th with 2.7. And then Palace with 2.3. I think most of our teams are anyway comprised of these teams.
Yeah, and I think as we were talking about, Liverpool and West Ham are the interesting teams here from a single gaming perspective. Maybe Brentford, but really just can't look beyond these teams and the double game week teams for this week.
Yeah, and Liverpool show up in the defensive odds as well. 46% chance of a clean sheet. Arsenal 68%. I think double up, looking good. Hopefully Kiwior plays both games for me. And City 49% is also fairly high.
Yeah, I mean, 49% definitely looks good for Diaz owner as a Diaz owner. Double City defense owner, actually. Pretty happy about that in terms of the statistics. Any other single gaming team that you would look at from this?
Not from this fixture point of view, but if you really need to make a transfer, again, Wissa is someone I would consider. Like if you need to move Isak to Wissa to fund something. But I'm a little hesitant to drop Isak, given the form Newcastle is in. Murphy, maybe. I think some managers are getting rid of Murphy. But yeah, I mean, given that I already played the bench boost, I'll probably just bench them. And yeah, it's the only question for me is Palmer to Saka I'll anyway do. It's just Savinho if I should get rid of or not. But yeah, I wouldn't go for any other. I would wait. Like if there's no urgency to go for any other single game because...
Makes sense.
Maybe Liverpool Leicester is an interesting fixture that could match double game week players. But I don't know who I would get rid of. If someone you have is already playing two games, then I don't think it's worth it.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because most of the money has gone into Salah and the double game because and on the other hand, you have very cheap players who are 5 million and there's no direct replacement for the players that we want. So that's where I've come into the position that I do need to sacrifice Isak or get into the teams. But I think the only way to get something out of some of these games is to gain money elsewhere.
Yeah, makes sense. I can understand, especially because you're playing bench boost. I think that could probably maximize your 15 as well. Cool. Let's look at the assistant manager projections now. So interestingly, last week, Eddie Howe and Glasner had the same average projections. But Glasner's minimum was what was actual and Eddie Howe's maximum was what actually happened. So Eddie Howe got 23, which was like the top 5%, and Glasner I think got 1 or 2, which is a brutal chip. Like if someone is going aggressively, I mean it was unlikely that Glasner would get anything, but 23 points is a huge return. So this week, I think the safer picks, similar to Eddie Howe, are Arteta and Pep. Arteta with 15.1 and Pep with 12.6. And in terms of table bonus, Ange is showing up against Forest. And Spurs also fresh from qualifying for the Europa League semi-finals. This is a huge win and draw percentage, 64%, 39 plus 25. It's one of the highest we've seen in the season. I mean, yeah, if someone is going for it, I think 2 games of Arteta is probably still
Yeah,
better.
you have to take it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this week, if you're playing it, it's probably got to be Arteta or Pep.
Yeah, go for a double game week for sure. Yeah. Well, interestingly, Emery has against City a 46% win or draw, but it's not a table bonus, so I don't think it's worth it at all.
Yeah.
And Villa actually are rated very highly. They have a 42% chance of winning against Newcastle as well. Pretty impressive. And another single game week of Arne Slot with 79% chance of winning. Again, very high. That is huge.
Oh my god.
And this is an away game. Yeah. Cool.
The disadvantage he has is the single game week. Otherwise, these odds are incredible.
Yeah. Cool. Moving on, we'll take a look at the fixture difficulty. Given this is for if you're free hitting in 34, so the game week 34 is removed from this, and we're looking till the end of the season now because it's just 33 to 38. City at the top. Again, we all of us are either doubled up or tripled up already. But if you're looking to bring someone in, would you go for KDB or is it still too much of a risk for you?
I think it's too much of a risk because it's expensive. You want to have some fun, sure, go for KDB, but I certainly wouldn't be disrupting my team there. I do think, I think Savinho's fine. So, like, you have Savinho, who knows? Like, he didn't start last week. Maybe he starts both games this week. That's the deal with City. It's hard to predict and look too far behind to make any sort of extrapolation.
The problem is he didn't start 2 games in a row now. I think he got 8 minutes each or something like that. And I mean, if Pep is playing the KDB Foden formation, there won't be place for him. But typically against smaller teams that sit back like Everton, he has gone with Doku and Savi like as the wide wingers. But I don't know if I want to take that chance. Like Rodgers, I know he has tougher fixtures, but he's been playing every game. And he's also someone who can have a double later, similar to a City player. And it would free up a spot for me to get Pep in as assistant manager later. But again, I could leave it for later.
I just think like with KDB, Pep is not someone who's sentimental. He's not going to give KDB a run out just because it's his last few games or whatever. He's just not like that. So he will go depending on what he thinks is the best team against that opposition, and that is what is hard to predict.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be Savinho depending on just like what you said. And given that you already have him in place, I think it's very risky to move him to KDB or try to do any sort of swaps within City.
Not within City for sure. It would have to be Rodgers.
Okay.
I wouldn't.
So we moving him out, then just get out of City completely.
Yeah, that's the. But again, like the fixtures are appealing. But yeah, I don't know how many minutes he'll get out of this. And then I think Arsenal, of course, they also have the double. But the problem with Arsenal is their fixtures aren't great. After that, Bournemouth, Liverpool, Newcastle, 35 to 37. So if you're getting Saka, it's really for this week. Like I will bring him in because I think these fixtures are too good to resist. Even if he gets 1 start and 1 bench, if he gets like 100, 110 minutes.
Yeah, even for just a damage limitation aspect.
Yeah, I think even if he comes off the bench in both games, I think that's better than a lot of single game weekers given the fixtures. So I'll bring him in. And then West Ham also showing up, but I don't think I trust them. Brentford, I am a little open to an attacker, but probably not this week.
Yeah, I mean, agree. Do you know Visa has like 14 goals this season?
Incredible. Yeah, he's always been good, but like this season, I think he's got a consistent series of returns, which is I'm like really really happy for him for that. But one more thing that stands out in this fixture ticker is Newcastle right at the bottom. So it's probably not such a crazy thing to get rid of Isaac.
I think especially given if you're going free 34, that's when they have Ipswich. Then the real fixtures that you're looking beyond, are looking at are Villa, Brighton, Chelsea, Arsenal, Everton, and that's not easy. None of those teams are easy. Maybe Brighton's the easiest of that. So, I mean, what I'm going to do mostly is I'm going to get rid of Isaac and Murphy because, just take that risk that you got the best out of those two players for those good fixtures and then move on to my plan is to get Bowen and Vissa for the good run of Brentford and West Ham. So, but that's risky because you're going against form and with fixtures. Sometimes that, form follows fixtures and the other times it doesn't. It's just the roll of the die.
I know Bowen is showing up high here, but it is... I know Spurs, United, Forest in 35 to 37. I know United and Spurs defenses are not great, but like, is there no one else with a cleaner run of fixtures that you could find? Or
I think the only other person is Luis Diaz for Liverpool. It's between Bowen and Diaz. Diaz definitely, really good if he starts. But then, of course, the fixtures are tougher, rotation risk.
Yeah.
But beyond Diaz, I don't see it. I don't see any other option because you do. I mean, for any player that you do want to transfer in, especially when you're getting someone like Isaac out, if you're trying to fund him, you want that really good incoming game week to get some of those points back. So that's where I'm looking at Southampton at home, and that's what's appealing to me.
Makes sense. Cool. Let's quickly look at the fixture ticker for those who are not on free hit. I think some differences maybe because, for example, someone like a Forest has good fixtures throughout, but it remains to be seen what the form is going to be like. West Ham, again, decent option. Brentford, also a good option. I think it's a little confusing how much you load up on double game week assets this week because they blank immediately after. But you'll probably wildcard in 34 then.
Correct. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Let's move on to the point projections. This does include the blank game week 34 as well. So it's not necessarily filled with the double game weekers. But yeah, I mean, Isak is showing up first with steady stream of points. Cunha is back in the projections and straight up to the top. Joao Pedro is third. None of these players are players that we have, mainly because none of these players are
double. This is pretty low. Like, even if you look at 33, 35, 36, it's all 3 point something. Far lower than Isak.
Interesting because Vissa was highly rated by the model earlier in the season. It even owned him for a decent stretch of time. But yeah, I mean, he looks like he's not its preferred cheap choice. Any forwards? I mean, in the double game week, we know, of course, it's basically Mateta and Marmoush, who most managers have. Any other double game weekers who are options, you think?
No, I don't. I mean, Watkins is too risky. I think the single game weekers are the options, honestly. It's between Vissa, Wood. That's it. Vissa and Wood, I think.
Cool. But I think in midfield, we do have a lot of options, both in single and double game weekers. First, let's look at the projections. Salah, once again, on top. His game week 33 projections are rivaling some of the double game weekers. Saka is, I think, the captaincy choice this week, according to the AI. More than 10 points projected this week. Palmer, Murphy, Mbumo, Diaz, all expect. I think, all expected to get above 5 points. And Bowen as well, 5.
Murphy above 5 is awesome. Like for Villa away in a single game week. That's quite.
And I think in midfield, in terms of double game weekers, there are some good options. I think if Mikel Merino plays every game, I know it sounds like a very random option, but I think at his price point, he's been doing well. And Villa midfielders, if you can predict who's going to play, like Rashford has been playing up front and he's been in the thick of it, but again, we don't know if Watkins will play. Rogers is, of course, an option. But yeah, I mean, I think there are a few more options in midfield.
I mean, looking at this, from an AI's perspective, I'm going to end up spending 2.5 million more, pay more money, and end up getting less points. That definitely does make me think. What am I
Yeah.
missing?
Yeah, maybe you could save the transfer. It's something to consider. But then you are also doing it for the later weeks. Although the AI seems to think Murphy's better. Yeah, I think it's probably his recent form that's pushed him up. And yeah, going with fixtures and predicting that that form will flip. Um, but yeah, I mean, according to this, Murphy is someone who might be a season keeper. Yeah, and
Maybe Luis Diaz to go for at least he seems to have higher points than Murphy this week.
yeah, but is he someone you can afford in the same way as Bowen?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Both are.
But Mbeumo showing up is also a good sign that Brentford's fixtures are turning. Cool. Let's move on to defenders. Yeah, here some of the double game week players do show up because I think they still do come from the better teams, especially City and Arsenal. And Munoz has been attacking throughout the season anyway. But yeah, again, Arsenal defense, I don't know if Timber will play. I think Saliba should be secure, but Timber didn't play the last game, and he's also coming back. And they do have options in those positions. City defense, I think this is a good, like the Everton away game especially, is a good chance to get a clean sheet for them. And I think Wolves players are also showing up slowly. I think their like Cunha showed up as well. I think their fixtures are getting better as well, and Forest too.
Yeah, surprising to see no Villa players here in
Probably,
in any of these projections actually.
probably two things. One is the blank in 34, and maybe the slightly tricky double with Newcastle and City that is pushing them down. But basically, the blank in 34 means that they have 4 fixtures in the next 4 game weeks anyway. And yeah, probably they're not scoring as high in the next 2, which is 33.
Makes sense. Will City and Villa, when will they have a blank if they double?
37 I think will be a blank, and 36, and I think that 37 will be a bloodbath because everyone's loading up.
That's it, right? If everyone's loading up on
Yeah, I think you have to give up.
that's something to keep in mind because
Yeah.
it's not going to be easy to replace so many players.
Yeah, and that's why these transfers will be important to keep. Like especially like if I'm considering Savinho to Rogers, that's probably a sideways move that'll bite me later. Yeah, it's something to keep in mind for sure. But again, it depends on who goes to the final. Let's say Villa lose, then maybe we don't know if that other team's blank will be as impactful. Like, but then that I think it's Palace, right? Palace is also in the semis, and it's City, Palace, Villa, and who's the 4th team? Is it Forest? But yeah, anyway, it depends on who qualifies, and we won't know that till game week 35. So yeah, I think at this point we're heading towards a big apocalypse. Maybe we shouldn't have penciled in the free hit so confidently, especially when only 4 teams are blanking. But yeah, right now 34 I have to free hit like that. I don't have too many players.
I think I at least should think about that a little bit because that will certainly impact my get rid of Newcastle strategy if I do decide to delay my free hit because I can't be without Newcastle against Ipswich at home.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, even for you, like you have 12 players who are blanking in 34 as we speak. So
Yeah,
it's just not possible. Yeah, and even if 2 teams who we are loaded up on blank, it'll be 6. Maybe you can get 11 somehow with a couple.
I think this definitely discourages going, for that Watkins or Rashford or Asensio, just that third Villa just to sake of it, right? Sure.
Yeah, because I think one of Villa's games later is also against United, which Rashford anyway is not eligible for because he's on loan.
Makes sense.
Okay, let's look at keepers now. Yeah, Raya and Edison showing up because of the double. Where's Martinez? I think again Martinez probably the fixture is pushing him down because everyone else here is single game week options.
I think Martinez is actually a good choice because he's a keeper. Keepers are much easier to play around with because especially we are another playing keeper.
Yeah, and if Martinez gets that double and blank, you will have a double game week keeper later, which is a great, and you can bench him in the blank anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think Martinez is a good player to get. If you don't have him, I think just getting him with the fact that it's a double game week and you can utilize another double game week without getting too impacted by a blind. That seems interesting. Something interesting to talk about in the goalkeeper section.
But then again, I don't know if it's worth a transfer this week. Like, because maybe if you're playing a bench boost and your backup keeper, if you have Areola as backup, he's playing Southampton, I think you can just keep him. But if you need to play a bench boost, that's when I would make that move. Otherwise, you can just keep your first keeper.
Makes sense.
Okay, let's look at our next week's teams. We'll start with the AI team. So currently, this is the team. Isaac is starting ahead of Konza because of more projected points. Raya and goal, Saliba, Munoz, Guardiol. Palmer to Saka will be the move, and Saka will be the captain. And Savinho, Eze, Salah, Isak, Mateta, Marmoush. I think the bench actually looks really, really good for a bench post.
It does, yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's done, and 15 points are in the bag. But yeah, what do you think about Palmer to Saka and Saka captain?
No, I think that makes sense. You have to do it. If you have Palmer, not going Saka doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
And if you do get Saka, I think the only competition to him is Marmoush, and which is a bit of a coin toss to me.
Yeah, but I think the AI is clear on captaining Saka, so I'll just go with it. Only thing is the X-Men's, which we won't know because Arsenal's playing on the Sunday. This week it's a delayed deadline, and the first game is City. So that's something I'll try to keep an eye on, but it is a 5:30 a.m. deadline, so I'm not sure. But if I know that Savinho's not starting the first game, that could be an option to make a transfer out.
If Marmoush is starting, would you captain him in your team?
I think I'm captaining him in my... Let's go to my team anyway right now. Similar team. I think little worse bench, so I don't have to feel as bad maybe as the AI team. But yeah, I am also planning to do Palmer to Saka. So I think the only difference between my team and the AI team is that it has Saliba and I'll have Kiwior. So definitely inferior. But I am probably going to captain Marmoush anyway, even if I bring in Saka. And I'm sure he'll start. Like Marmoush is probably going to get 180 minutes, like given how much he's been playing for City. And just the guarantee of the minutes is probably what I'm going for. Yeah, I think I'm pretty set on it unless Arteta comes out and says, no, we need game time, I'm going to play Saka.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing is I like Ipswich away and Palace at home much more than Everton away and Villa at home. And
Agreed.
Saka is a better player than Marmoush. It's a tough one. I think Marmoush definitely has that minutes factor, but Saka is just better pretty much in every other aspect.
Yeah, I'm happy to get him because, I think he'll play 100 to 120 minutes or something like that. And like if he gets a start and one appearance off the bench, even if he gets both off the bench, I think he could score, but it would be like I just don't want to take I have 180 minutes. I think I'll get 180 minutes out of Marmoush or somewhere close to it. And I just want the reliability of having, I want to roll the dice and the dice to have the probability of getting a massive score. So I just want the player to be on the pitch.
Any thoughts about captaining Salah against Leicester?
Yeah, it's not a bad shout, honestly, because Leicester are very poor, piss poor, and
he could easily end up being the top scorer.
He could. I think this is a great example of single game week versus double game week options, but yeah, I think having him in the team is enough. Probably, if you want, I just want to go for the ceiling. And yeah, even I'm probably going to start Isak over Konza. I just think Newcastle and City, even one clean sheet, I'm not sure. Maybe against Newcastle if they're solid, because Villa have looked good. But yeah, I just want to go with the attacker over the defender in this case.
Now playing Murphy instead of Isak?
No.
Given the recent form?
No, I think Isak is due. He's missed a bunch, and I think he'll be raring to go. I think his conversion should improve. Murphy, yeah, he's done his bit for now. Let's keep his average points per appearance high by benching him. Yeah, and actually his average points per appearance is 17 and a half or something, which is
Crazy.
Absolutely outstanding. Yeah, maybe I'll need him sometime later in the season. Let's see. Cool. Moving on to your team.
So I've not done anything so far. No transfers. I have not been active in my bench boost, and that's something that I'll look into tomorrow. So right now, this is my team. Pretty much everyone double game week in the starting 11 except Salah. Um, Bench of Martinez double game week, and then the triple Newcastle boys, Isaac, Murphy, and Livramento. The two transfers that I spoke about, I think 99% I'm going to do it unless, the press conference, there are a few things that can change my mind there. But is Isaac and Murphy out for Bowen and Vissa? That would give me, instead of Villa away, it will give me Brighton home and Southampton home. I will get Newcastle back through the free hit for the Ipswich at home game in 34. And what I'm banking is 35, 36, 37, 38. I won't go with Newcastle for Brighton, Chelsea, Arsenal, Everton. My thought process there is, if I do really, really want to go back to Newcastle, I'll go back to Murphy because he's so much easier to go back to. I can do like Sar out for Murphy quite easily, right? Like the money is just there. Sar is way more expensive. So I have a backdoor to get into Newcastle in case, that they're just keeping up their form. I will probably not be able to ever go back to Isak, but I think that's okay.
How about your bench actually looks decent enough. Depending on how you read the Villa Newcastle game, did you think about not making a transfer and using those, especially if you're talking about potentially bringing Murphy back? Maybe those transfers, you could really attack the last few weeks, or do you want to maximize your bench right now?
I think I want to maximize it because the Villa game feels tricky to me because Villa are a good team.
Yeah.
I just don't know how to call that result. And I feel like this bench could just be a disaster. It could be like a 2-2-1. It could also be really good, but it's just hard to call. Whereas I feel more confident in calling a Southampton at home fixture. Maybe not Vissa's fixture, but again, just another home fixture easier. So I just want to, given that I've held my bench boost to this week, I want to maximize that chip and just punt the transfers for future game weeks later. So just play a bit greedy, which I think is okay because we are coming towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
Being a little more greedy here is fine because the game's going to end soon.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. And this will be your last chip other than free hit, right? So might as well go for it.
Yeah, so I'm covered till 34. It's just the last 4 weeks where, I'll anyway probably try something different. Newcastle have tougher fixtures.
Yeah.
Just go different and see whether I can get a few players through form and spread that exact money and go try something different.
Makes sense. Cool. That brings us to the end of this week. Can't believe there's just 5 more, and maybe we'll do one season review after that, or maybe we'll look into streaming the last Premier League games live, especially if the league table looks like it's close between Conte and AI team. That's something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Any last words?
Best of luck. Hope those who played your bench boost chip already had a really strong week, and those who are going to play your chips, wish you all the best of luck. And those who don't have a bench boost, wish as little damage limitation as possible.
That's a very sweet message to end on. Cool.